are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
And yep, now I'm in air. Welcome to Soil Doctor's Corner here. I'm sitting in Lomma, and we are doing our 48-hour streaming here on YouTube. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my passion here since many years back, and that is soil health. There are many ways of saving the world, and we need to start doing things differently. We need to start doing things in accordance with Mother Nature. And there are many ways of doing that, and driving electric cars is a good start, but it won't save us. So I will give you a glimpse of my world and my passion. And actually, the soil is like the start of everything. If we look at civilizations, they have prospered and they have gone under because of the soil. And today, our relation to the soil generally, and what is taught at the agricultural universities, is not so sustainable. There are changes going on, but we need to do things in new ways, or old ways that we used to do, but 2.0 version of soil management. And my start was been thinking quite a lot about this big debt in the sky. We have a lot of carbon up there where it shouldn't be, and that will affect the climate. It will affect a lot of things. And I was thinking, okay, so what do we do with all this carbon? How do we can't just reduce the emissions. We need to take away this problem. We need to get rid of the carbon. And then I realized that we have a lot of degraded soils around the world. We have been doing wrong and extractive and painful for the nature, bad agriculture, short-sighted agriculture, and we have caused erosion. We have created former lush vegetation ecosystem. They have become almost deserts. So sometimes we have created deserts. So I realized that there is a huge potential of solving a part of the problem with climate change if we restore the soil or the soils around the world. Because what makes up a good soil? Well, a good soil has a lot of humus, which is halfly degraded plant residues, and we have microlife, and that consists of carbon. So there's a huge potential if we start healing the soils they will start to capture the CO2 that shouldn't be in the atmosphere. So that led me to study in the field, and I did that, and it was like open up a door to a fantastic area. The soil should be considered as a living organism with many tasks for the nature. It's a part of the hydrological cycle, and it's regulating temperature depending on what kind of vegetation you have on it, and it's very important for the biodiversity. So everything is interconnected. Now I did that for the first time. Did it 3 times yesterday. Tried not to do it again. Well, anyway, so when we are misbehaving with the soil, we will actually shut off the function of the soil. If we plow a soil and then we leave it naked, and the rain falls, it will become compacted because you have minerals that will be dissolved, and then they harden when the things dry up. And the next time it rains, water won't go into the soil, which it's used to. Well, that's what should be how it should work. And then you have the water standing on the surface, and then it will start to have this surface runoff, and then you will have your soil going into a nearby stream, and then it will end up in the ocean. So by going back and learn how we should treat the soil, because we have forgotten how to treat the soil. We have relied on heavy machinery, mechanized agriculture, pesticides, herbicides, and mineral fertilizers. And that will work for a while, but you're actually living on credit, you can say, because the soil is losing its organic content. And without the organic content, there will be no life in soil. And we have different documentaries, like The Last Harvest. They say we have 40 or 60 more years, or 60 more year harvest, and then it's over. And after that there will be no more organic substances left in the soil. So we have to turn this story around. We have to make a U-turn. We have to start building soil. We have to start regenerate the soil. And is that impossible? Is that difficult? Well, actually, we have farmers. I think most of it started in America, United States. You have regenerative agriculture, and then there the farmers say that if we stop tilling and we add biodiversity on the land, and we never leave the soil naked or bare, and we see to that we have always living root system. So you have living plants above and you have living roots underground. And then in some cases, which is important, is to add animals. So biodiversity, no-till, covered all times, and living root system. And then if you add animals, because they are a part of the ecosystem, then you will actually start to grow your soil quality, or this topsoil layer will be more fertile. And the farmers that have tried this, you have this period when you are changing, but after a while they see that if you observe and if you work with nature, the nature will start working for you. And they do it. The nature doesn't take vacation, doesn't show up at work with a hangover. The nature will work for you 24/7. Year round. And actually the farmers that has converted to regenerative and they have ditched the till and all that, they actually see that for the first they have better margins, and the quality of the crops is better. Their animals are better because they have access to grass and plants that are thriving in the soil. And if you have with a healthy soil comes microorganisms. You need a multitude of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, worms, microarthropods, and there's a whole bunch of micro life in the soil, and they will all cooperate with the plants. So the plants will actually be able to demand the micro life, like I need zinc or I need copper or whatever, because they need all that different minerals and micronutrients to thrive. And if the plant have all those micronutrients in it, the cow or the bull, the calf, they will have this inside of them. So it's a win-win situation here. So we have created a positive spiral. And also today we are talking about this extreme weather events. So we will have to prepare for extended periods of drought or extremely high rainfall, and you could have the same amount of precipitation in an area, but instead of having it during 6 months during the rainy period, you will have it during a fortnight or during a week. So it will really make it so much harder to be a farmer, because you need to have the tools and to be prepared for these events. And with a healthy soil, it can actually it's like a shock absorber. It is better prepared to handle this, because if you have heavy rain and you have this soil with the topsoil layer, that this is where the roots live, and you have most of the biological activity, and you will have like a sponge. You will have the water will enter. It will be stocked in the soil, and it will stay there instead of just running over the surface overflow. So that means you will have a kind of water bank account. So then if you have a period of drought, you will not be so vulnerable, because you will have water stored in the soil. And the deeper your topsoil layer is, the more water you can store. And I remember there is this what should I call him? Regenerative guru. His name is Richard Perkins. He has the Ridgedale Farm up in Värmland in Sweden. And most of us remember the summer of 2018. Most of the farmers, they were really struggling to stay alive with their business. And Richard, he said, well, that was the best year for me. That was a very good year, because under my vegetation, when I got my fingers into the soil, it was humid. There was water. There was water stocked there, and my grass was high. The plants were growing. The cows. No, he doesn't have cows, but the animals, the chickens were thriving. So that is what we want to obtain with regenerative agriculture. Today, with a conventional agriculture, it's like having a person linked to a life support system. If it doesn't get what it needs, it will just die. But here we are working with kind of minimizing the risks. And again, if you have a healthy soil, it's more prepared for, and it can take more problems like that. Yes, and let's see. How do you measure your soil? How can you see if your soil is good? Well, there are different methods. There are the technical methods where you look at the electric conductivity, things like that. But you can actually go out and measure your soil yourself, because you can dig up your soil and you can look at the color. It should be dark. Someone said, Elaine Ingham at Soil Food Web, she said it should be like chocolate with 80%, 70 to 80% cacao in it. It should have a smell like, a forest. You know the smell, I hope you know that smell, earthy smell. And then it should be, shouldn't be compact, more like this sponge-like, because if it's spongy, you have the passageways for air, because you need the air to get down in the soil, so the microlife doesn't get anaerobic. If you have if you're lacking oxygen, then you will have the bad microbes coming, and that will only make things worse. That is a sign of bad health. So you need this spongy-like soil. And so you get the air to pass, and you also get the water to pass, but also to be stocked in the soil. And this is, there was a farmer who said, before I started to go with regenerative agriculture, I did it conventionally, and there was this creek on my land, and there was only water in it for 3 to 5 months per year. During the rainy season, there was a storm flood because the water was going out quickly. But since he started and he converted his farm to regenerative, he said there is water year round in the stream, because you don't have that. You are keeping the water in your soil. You're keeping it in the landscape and in the creek, so you have water all year round, instead of just draining the landscape. So and that affects so many things downstream as well. And another thing that is important, we talk about the hydrological cycle. We have evapotranspiration from the lakes and the streams and from the ocean, and it creates clouds, and the clouds, they get over the land, and then it will rain, and then it gets into the streams, and then they call that the hydrological cycle. But we shouldn't forget that in a healthy soil, the water will fall, and it will actually. Today we have it's not only water falling from the sky; it's also microplastics and different kinds of pollutants. But if you have a healthy soil, the microlife in the soil will actually purify these pollutants and break them down, or neutralize them and tuck them away in the soil structure. And there is an enormous power in this this microlife, because Elaine Ingham, she said there isn't any known man-made chemicals that can't be broken down by the microlife in the soil. It's pretty cool. And if we look at the soil, we don't know we know there are millions and millions of different bacteria, and there are millions of fungi. We have just looked at the surface. There's so much there to learn, and the more you learn, the more you know that you don't know. And there was actually a case where someone had built a house on a slope, very beautiful site with a view on over the sea, and very mountainous. And he had built his house on a slope, but he didn't like that there was so much weed. And someone came up with the idea that if you mix Roundup with diesel oil and you spray that, you will get rid of those weeds. You will get rid of that problem. So he did. Quick fix. The problem was that he created an even bigger problem, because without the weeds and those plants, there was nothing holding the dirt and the soil together. So the entire slope was coming down, and it was entering his fashionable architect created house. So he realized that he was in deep trouble. And there were different solutions to this new problem. You could make concrete walls. You could cover the entire slope with concrete, but he realized that not so good. So actually, he got in contact with a guy who is restoring ecosystems, who is really skilled when it comes to making compost, creating new soil, a kind of kickstart soil that you could add on the disturbed soil. So they were actually covering. This guy was a .com guy. He had a lot of money, so he could afford it. But they were covering this entire slope around his house, where he had created this problem, with a new layer of soil, a couple of inches of new soil. And it was a problem with, the place is poisoned with this devil's blend with Roundup and diesel oil. But they noticed after 6 months the slope was green. And as she said, if you have the right microorganism, they will actually break down those pollutants and turn them into no longer dangerous compounds. They will actually break down the compounds. And if you look at bacteria, they can actually chew on a chemical compound and just remove one part of the molecule and turn it into nutrients. And while the microfungi, they can go and attack several parts of the molecule and turn that into food, nutrients. So you need those. You need this cooperation between all. You need the bacteria. You need the fungi. You need the protozoa and nematodes, because there as well you have an ecosystem. Because if you get too many bacteria, you will have a bad soil. So you have the nematodes eating the bacteria, and you have fungi being eaten by bacteria, but there are also fungi that eats the nematodes, and so it's like the life in the jungle. So what I hope for is that, and why I'm sitting here, is there are many people doing good things and informing people. We have to look at the solutions. We have many clever, intelligent, fantastic people all around the world who are trying to spread their visions and activities. And it's not just talk. There are actually big projects going on. We have an ecosystem restoration project where they have turned deserts into lush environments where people are living now and making a living from agriculture and activities like that. And we actually need to convert to regenerative way of looking at things, and regenerative agriculture is a way. It will give us a way to combat climate change, because there's a huge potential of capturing carbon. It will also give us consumers better food, more nutrient dense, more nutrient rich. It will give the farmers a better financial situation and not being so vulnerable. Gabe Brown, who is the author of a book with the title From Dirt to Soil, he was had one foot on, or how should I say, he was on the verge of giving up and selling his farm. He had 5,000 acres in North Dakota, and his business was really bad. He was doing it conventionally, and he had to work outside the farm, and then in the evening he had to be a farmer. But then he realized that after some mishaps, that where he had left the soil untouched due to a hailstorm, it had been covered, he hadn't tilled it, and he saw that the soil there was better than on his other land. So he started thinking and start observing, and he found the right researchers who could say, well, yeah, you got something going here. We can help you with building the entire picture. So making long story short, he now he's one of the leading people in regenerative agriculture, and he says that people don't believe me because I say I've never worked as little as I do now, and at the same time I've never made so much money as I do now. So there is a huge potential, but at the same time you have the big ag, the big companies like Monsanto, Syngenta, that are providing the farmers today with the seeds, with the pesticides, with fertilizers. And of course they don't want to lose their market, they don't want to lose their money, and they do as everybody else. They invest in research. They are paying researchers to do research in the specific areas that are good, and that kind of that will make sure that the farmers and the people that are at the agricultural university will continue to do business as usual. But just to take one example with the till-free, I mean, when you till your soil, what happened? Why shouldn't we till our soil? We've done that, I mean, for thousands of years. But the thing is, we have also ruined the soils since we put the plow the first time in the soil and start tilling it. When you till the soil, you will actually slice up all the microlife, especially the fungi. They have all these. It's like a internet underground. You have lots of very fine, thin roots, like fungi roots, or where they transfer energy, nutrients to the roots of the plant, and the plant will pay them with sugar that they make with the photosynthesis. Okay, so they're doing business and they're happy with that. And then the farmer will come with his till, and it will just mess up everything. It's like someone said, it's like having an earthquake followed by a tsunami. You know, pretty tough after that. And who is happy about that? Well, the bacteria, because all of a sudden they got a buffet of food, because they will chew down on these dead and suffering fungi. And when they do that, because bacteria, they are good at holding nitrogen, but they are pretty bad at holding the carbon. And what they eat is pretty rich in carbon. So what do? Well, they release, they fart, they burp, they release this carbon into the atmosphere. So that's where we have this problem. Like the agriculture is 1/3 of the emissions of CO2 and other gases like nitrogen and N2, nitrogen, I don't know the word in English, but anyway, you have all those gases. Methane, for example, is 30 times more potent as a climate gas than CO2. And nitrogen oxide is 200 times. I've seen different, but it's really, really nasty climate gases. So that's why you shouldn't till. And you have a movement in America, and it's spreading to Europe too as well. And there is this another guy that you should know about, Ray Archuleta, who I think he worked for U.S. agricultural something, and he said 30% something of the land in America is today no-till, because they see the advantages of not tilling. And he said if we had practiced the no-till on all American land, we would prevent the release of, listen here, 300 million tons of CO2. Imagine that, 300 million tons of CO2 would be kept in the soil. Really great. In Europe, I said America is, what I know, the leading. You have those people like Gay Brown, Ray Archuleta. You have a bunch of other people whose name I've forgotten. As I said, 31% is no-till. In Europe, it's like 4 or 5%. So we are lacking behind. Maybe the situation has been more extreme in America, where in some places they have had corn growing on the same spot for many years. So they've been forced to do something. It's like trying new methods, or you will have to sell your farm and leave. But what is happening in America, it's like looking into the crystal bowl. Look at what is happening there and adapt. And we see in Sweden it's a growing interest for regenerative agriculture. And Richard Perkins, he said, I am not focusing on what's growing on my land. I'm focusing on growing my soil, taking care of my soil. And then if I take care of my soil, and another secondary effect will be that what I grow in the soil will be very the plants will be very good. If I take care of the soil, the plants will be fine, and I will make money, and in a sustainable way. So that's where it starts. The farmer should be more into what is happening with the soil. Unfortunately, today we say agriculture, and the modern farmer has become more like the guy who sits in driving his machines, spraying the right stuff in the right time. So they've kind of lost this connection with soil. But we see that it's coming back. It's coming back slowly, and you always have the forerunners, and then when you come to a certain level, it will actually accelerate, and it will become public. It will become a household word with soil health and regenerative agriculture. So I have high hopes for the future here. It gives me hope, and especially when you have, it's not something that comes from the researchers. It's coming from the farmers. They have started questioning why they have been doing things in a certain way, and working hard is it's a lifestyle. You work all the time, and you don't have a lot of money. You don't have a lot of free time. You're really become a slave under your soil that is not feeling well. Everybody's feeling bad if you don't take care of your soil. And another thing is that if you want to survive as a farmer today under those circumstances, you need to have more and more acreage. You need more land because the margins are so small. And that is also a problem because today you have the farmers are, the average age is over 50, maybe 55 or something like that. And they have a problem with getting the new generation, the younger generation in there. And if you want to become a farmer, the entry ticket is so high. So it's the same in Western Europe, in the Western world. We have got stuck here. It's not easy to enter if you have a dream of becoming a farmer because all the farms are very, very big. And the land has become very, very expensive as well. And you also have to compete with the need for land, for expansion of the cities, for infrastructure, for different activities. Just to mention, this threat against the soil is not only the poor management, but in general the attitude towards the soil. In Sweden, we have the highest surface per how do you say that? Roads and parking places. We have the highest square meter per person in the world in Sweden. We have put concrete and hard. We have made too much surface hard with asphalt and concrete and creating these shopping malls with an ocean of parking places and roads and everything. So that is also bad management of our precious soil. And the soil should be considered as the skin of our planet. I remember when I saw this Goldfinger with a woman that was covered in gold. And if you do that, you will actually suffocate because your skin can't breathe. And it's the same if we cover our planet with roads and concrete and buildings. It will have less capacity, and it won't be able to breathe. And if the earth can't breathe, we can't breathe. So we are kind of suffocating ourselves with this short-sighted behavior. So, well, I've been talking, a little bit of everything, but trying to give you somewhat structurized, maybe chaotic view of my field. And I intend to, in the future, invite people with that could talk about and explain what they're doing and their visions and their products and their services in order to create a healthier world. So I think that will be all for now, and thank you for listening. And the Soil Doctor will be back again soon. So see you again.
We are creating the world we're now living in. We are competing shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.